fellow makeup lovers, how are you guys doing today? So I'm pretty excited for this video because I'm going to be doing a review on the Max Up the Makeup Flower Child palette, which just looks like this. It's kind of funny because this entire time I thought that it was Max Up the Makeup Cosmetics because that is their Instagram handle, but for some reason it just dawned on me just now as I was looking at their website. I'm like, it's just Max Up the Makeup. I believe their Instagram handle is Max Up the Makeup Cosmetics because the owner of the brand, Max Up the Makeup, and that's his Instagram handle, so it would make sense for them to do something slightly different. So I feel like Max Up the Makeup Cosmetics is such a mouthful. So I am definitely going to go back to any video that I've mentioned this in and edit the description box or the title and make sure to take out that C or that cosmetics because I feel like that is such a long name and it is just Max Up the Makeup. So that's definitely the kind of silly mistake that I would make, but it's okay because I was still familiarizing myself with the brand because this is actually their first launch ever. The first product they've come out with, which I feel like is kind of incredible because this is a really good product. Not just talking about the formula, which we will get into in a moment, but the aesthetic of the palette and the uniqueness and the color scheme. I feel like it really was bringing something to the market, and everything about the palette really drew me in. This was a palette I was considering to purchase. I did really like the color scheme, but they reached out to me and asked me if they could send it to me as PR, and I was all for it because I mean, who doesn't want to get something for PR that you were already considering purchasing? And I love to be able to talk about new indie brands, so I was really excited about this palette. Also, just want to throw out there really quickly, so you know, I try not to be like forcing this down anyone's throat, but I do have an affiliate code with Max Up the Makeup now, and it is just AMYLOVES. If you are interested in purchasing this palette, it will take 10% off your order, and I will make a small commission, which I am always super grateful for when you guys use my code. It really means a lot to me, and I don't just go around recommending anything. I am definitely kind of like, I love having codes, whether they are affiliated or not, because I think it's so cool, and I like to be able to have like a way to give you guys a discount, regardless of whether I'm making a commission. But so yeah, I do feel like I have a lot of codes, but I try not to be like a code pusher. But I figured I would throw that out really quickly just because I don't know if there are any other codes out there for this brand. So like that's me speaking of ignorance. I don't know everyone who's ever talked about this palette, but just in case you are wanting to purchase it, I would like you guys to be able to save a little bit of money. So this is the palette. The packaging is so beautiful. It is very Flower Child inspired. Obviously, I'll just go ahead and read off what they wrote on the website to give you guys a little feel for it. So it says, our new Flower Child palette consists of 5 highly pigmented matte shades, 1 transition shade, and 3 high intensity shimmers, for the ability to create endless eyeshadow looks. Inspired by the vibrant clothing, decor, and memorabilia from the 60s and 70s, we guarantee that your eye makeup will be as vibrant as the summer of love. Ooh, I love that. The palette is also cruelty-free and retails for $25 US. I did enter my shipping information previously just to creep on it and see how much it would be, and I think it was like $3 or something to ship to my house, which is really good. Although it, you know, it is a United States company, I am in the United States, so I wasn't expecting a super high shipping charge. But anything under $5 I feel like is really great. So now let's go ahead and talk about the formula of the eyeshadows. I feel like I definitely really love this palette overall. I did not have any problems, no creasing, no fading, no patchiness, nothing. Like, I feel like I had an overall really good experience with the shadows. I really like the matte shades. I feel like they are on the buildable side, but they are very vibrant. They blend really well into each other, and I really just love how the different colors play with each other. Overall, I do really like the mattes. I feel like they are creamy. They're soft to the touch. When you put your brush in the pan, there is definitely some kickback. I would definitely recommend once you know, put your brush in and you get that little bit of kickback to tap off and get rid of that little bit of excess shadow before you go in, or else you will get a little bit of fallout. Nothing crazy, definitely very manageable amount of fallout, but if you do tap off your brush, that really shouldn't be a problem. So overall, I am definitely a fan of the matte shadows. So moving on to the shimmer shades, I would say that I like them. I feel like they work really well. They're pigmented, they're creamy, but they are, I would say, just shimmers. They're not metallic by any means. They add a little bit of shift to the eye. I have, you know, some shimmers on my lid today, and I think they are pretty, but I wouldn't say that I'm especially wowed by them. If that's one thing I would change about the palette, I would make the shimmers a little bit extra intense. I do think that, like I said, there's nothing wrong with them, and they do look really beautiful all over the eyelid or on the inner corner, wherever you want to put them, and they are pigmented, but they're just not like super extremely metallic, which, you know, that is definitely personal preference. I don't mind using either, but I do feel like, you know, using this in the future, I would probably want to go ahead and maybe add some glitter on top or do something a little bit extra, just because I like to have a super intense lid shade. I feel like even if you wet the shimmer shades, it really doesn't make all that much of a difference. I have tried them wet a few different times, and I feel like wet and dry, they kind of just end up looking the same. They're just not that super metallic, and there's not really any way to make them that super metallic from my experience. Although I will say I haven't really applied these with my fingers because I haven't felt the need to. They do pick up really, really well with a brush. So overall, I do really like the formula, and like I said, I felt like they didn't crease throughout the day. They're long wearing. Overall, I would say this palette is pretty versatile. I feel like you can get a lot of good different looks out of this, but it is kind of hard to tone down. I've done a few looks just like on my daily life, and I like do like a light pink and then the orange and then like just a tiny bit of the red, although the red kind of takes it to another level, and then I just use like the pink all over the lid, and that is, you know, it's a little bit more of a softer look, but it still packs quite a punch. I feel like this is overall very, very vibrant, fun, colorful makeup. I also feel like this palette would be a really, really good companion palette to use with other palettes, just because it is such a nice little size, and I feel like the colors are all really fun. So this would be really fun to pair with, I don't know, a lot of other palettes, honestly, especially if you have something that does have like super vibrant metallic shades. That would be something I would pair this with. And then, like I said, I do really like the matte formula, and I do see myself continuing to reach for this palette. If you are curious about the look that I have on my eyes today, I did film 3 looks with this, and I think this might be my favorite 3 looks video I've ever done. I feel like I loved all of the looks so much, so that will be up on my channel tomorrow so that you can see all of the eyeshadows in action and see the looks I created with this and hopefully get inspired. I also do have a first impressions video up on my channel where I did a really pretty look using every single shade in the palette, and I also did live swatches in case you're curious to see those. So overall, I really don't have anything bad to say. I think this is a fabulous launch for like being the first eyeshadow palette they've come out with, and even if it wasn't the first, I still really like it, and I think it's beautiful, and I don't know, I'm a fan. I love the aesthetic, and I'm very excited to see what they end up coming out with next. Hopefully they are able to come out with more products, because I am really excited to see what, you know, if they're, I don't know, I'm so excited to see what the next theme will be, or if there is more palettes, or if they take a different route. I don't know, they have my full attention, basically. So if you do have any questions about the palette, please feel free to leave them down below, and I will try and get back to you in a timely manner. I did ask on Instagram if anyone had any palettes they wanted to see compared to this, and so I'm going to go ahead and pull that up really quickly and we can go through. I don't plan on swatching all of them, especially because my camera's already dying because I am such a slowpoke, but I figured I would go ahead and show you this palette next to a few other palettes in my collection in case you already own them and you want to see if there's a difference, or, you know, if this will add value into your collection. So let me just pull up the Instagram. Wow, I sound like an old lady. I'm going to pull up my Instagram and see if anyone else messaged me or did the little question thing and told me any other palettes. No one did, but also I forgot to show the inside of the palette when I asked if anyone wanted comparisons, so that's probably my bad. Wasn't thinking the most. That's okay, I still have 3 palettes to compare, and they are actually all indie brands, which is kind of funny. Well, it makes sense because indie brands are always killing it with the colorful color schemes. So first I have the Maybe Cosmetics Take Me to Tokyo palette, and it's kind of funny because these palettes are pretty similar. I think this has the same retail price. The packaging is very similar, like it feels the same, although obviously it looks different. It is the exact same size pretty much, I would say. Yeah, they look to be the exact same size. I could definitely slip the Max Up the Makeup palette in with all my other Maybe palettes and it would fit right in. It would look like, you know, like a sister. I don't know. I feel like the placement and the size of the mirrors are the exact same, which is kind of crazy. And then just to compare the color schemes, I feel like there are definitely some similarities going on here. The pink in the Flower Child palette is a little bit brighter. as far as the hot pink is brighter, but the light pink is a little bit more muted, whereas this light pink is a little bit more like a pastel light pink. And then the blue in this is more like a baby blue, and this is more like a bright blue, but I do feel like those look kind of similar on the actual eye. And then the only other shadow that's super similar is that green, and those greens are practically identical. Like the formula even feels the exact same, like it's crazy. I'll show you guys really quickly. I would say the formula between these two palettes is very, very similar. So here is the Flower Child, and here is the Mavy Green. So those almost practically look like the same color, like it looks like I swatched the same thing twice, but that is the only like true repeat between the two palettes. And I feel like the formula is very similar. I feel the exact same way about the Mavy palettes. I feel like I really like the mattes. They're easy, they're blendable, and then the shimmers are pretty, but they're not like the most metallic shades ever. So I wonder if they're like made at like the same manufacturing company or something. I don't know, but I felt like those were really similar. For some reason I was about to put the Flower Child palette away, but obviously I still need to compare that to two other palettes that I have here. The next palette that I wanted to compare it to is the Zulu from Juvia's Place, because I saw a lot of comments whenever I was putting this on Indie Makeup Spotlight whenever it first released, comparing it to the Zulu. So I figured let's go ahead, let's do that. Let's talk about it. Obviously the Zulu is way more big, and I personally prefer the size of the Flower Child palette just because, you know, it's more realistic as far as actually getting through shadows. But here are the two palettes next to each other. There are some similarities here. They both have a red, they both have an orange, they both have the light blue shade, although the light blue in the Flower Child is a little bit more minty. And then there is also a light green and a teal. So there are some similarities here, but personally I feel like I actually like the color scheme of the Flower Child more. I feel like it's a little bit more curated, whereas this feels like more like a rainbow palette. It has like one of each shade, and this I feel like you can do monochromatic looks. So I do find them to be different, although I would say that like the metallic shades in the Juvia's Place are more intense. I'll just go ahead and swatch the greens again. So here is the Flower Child green, and here is the Juvia's Place green. Actually, they don't look that different either. Okay, real quick, I'm going to do the teals just to show you on my finger as well. I didn't want to do full swatches because I don't want to run out of time. I don't want my camera to die, but I want you guys to be able to see what we're working with here. So here is a quick swatch of the teal in the Flower Child, and then here is the teal in the Juvia's Place. So the Flower Child one actually looks a little bit deeper in tone. Actually, these two palettes would probably be really pretty paired together. I'm just going to go ahead and do the light minty shade as well, just for your viewing pleasure. This one is the Flower Child, and then the next one on my pinky is Juvia's Place. Oh, those actually don't look that similar either. Yeah, like I said, the Flower Child one has more green in it, and the Juvia's Place is more of a true blue. So between these two, I do see differences. Even I feel like the shades of the red and the orange are like slightly off from each other. Like trying to hurry so I don't run out of time. I really, honestly, I need to buy a backup battery so bad. I really need to make an Amazon order. Actually, I really need to get a backup battery, and I wanted to get some softbox lights, maybe some extra reflectors, do a few upgrades, but also I'm just a procrastinator, honestly. The last palette I want to compare is the Blush Tribe x Paulina palette, which was limited edition and no longer available. And I really love this palette. I have only used it a handful of times. I need to use it more. I haven't even used the shimmers, only the mattes yet. I guess I just put off using this because I know it's not available. But I really want to use it because I love Paulina, and you know what? Even if it's not available, it's fine. I can still do videos on it and talk about it because it's so beautiful and it's a beautiful color scheme. So I'm going to make that a priority because I feel like the quality in here is really, really good. I do overall like Blush Tribe's quality. But anyways, here are the two palettes next to each other, and they both have some green there and some pink in there, although I feel like the Paulina palette leans more like pinky purple, and this is like more like, sorry, I'm so confused right now. This is more like pinky and warm tones, and then the greens, I feel like, again, true greens going on here, and this is some greens and some blues. So I feel like, yeah, I feel like none of the shades are really dupes here. Maybe like the bright pinks are a little bit similar and that's probably all. I feel like they kind of have similar vibes going on. I think these two palettes would be really beautiful paired together as well, but I would not say they're exact dupes. I just figured I'd pull it out because this is like greens and blues and then warm tones and pinks, and this is, you know, greens and pinks and purples, so just figured I would compare that to for y'all. I'm trying to think if I have any more palettes to compare this to, and I'm sure I could go through different palettes, but I feel like overall this color scheme is pretty unique, so there's nothing really jumping out in my mind. So I think overall I would give the Flower Child palette an A-. I think the way it would better its grade would be by having super metallic shadows, because that is my personal preference, but overall, like I said, it's still an A, and it's a really good palette. I would personally recommend the palette if you are enjoying the color scheme and you feel like it would add value to your collection. It is a pretty solid mid-end price tag. I personally feel that it is worth the price. So I think that's everything I have to say. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you, fingers crossed, tomorrow. Bye.